Well, Scott, the first question I have for you is what were you doing in your 20s and what did you gain from those experiences?
Great. Well, in my 20s, I was doing something a lot of people don't do. I finished my time as a bioengineer at UC Berkeley. And then instead of going to medical school or going to graduate school, I ended up joining the Navy. I became a naval aviator, even though I'd never actually been on a plane until the Navy sent me to boot camp in Pensacola, Florida. It's just something I felt I always wanted to do. And so that started when I was 22, I guess, and it essentially took up the rest of my 20s, heading out, getting training, learning how to fly, and then doing my missions over the next 7, 8 years.
So how did you then transition, from the Navy to more of, a business background?
Well, essentially, when I was in the Navy, I felt there was really valuable skills I was learning there about managing people, about working in teams, accomplishing things together as a unit, but I also realized I didn't want to do it for the rest of my life. I was fortunate enough to have some mentors in the Navy, people who were a few years ahead of me, and they recognized right away my desire to do something different. A few of them actually went on to business school, one to Stanford Business School, and they kind of nudged me along and said, you really should go to business school. You have the right type of personality. You're always looking to do new things. And so with their encouragement, I applied to business school near the end of my time in the Navy, essentially to the Berkeley Business School. I'm blue and gold through and through, and was hoping for the best. The first year I applied, I didn't get rejected, but I didn't get accepted. I was on the wait list, the notorious wait list. And so the wait list came and went, and then I didn't get picked up. The following year, I had to make a decision. In the Navy, when you're an officer, you maintain that status unless you resign or you don't promote up. And so I had served the time I needed to serve. And so it was up to my discretion to stay or go. And you have to give notice about a year in advance that you're going to leave. And so I did that. And I said, well, I'll apply again, and hopefully I will get in this time since I was on the wait list. Fortunately, this is where sometimes you need some luck in life. And I think that's very important for people to recognize it and not always think everything's done because of their own self-determination. One of my early roommates that I met while in flight training in Pensacola, he was in the Marine Corps and he flew Cobras, and we stayed good friends. His dad, his father-in-law, turned out was a very big supporter at the Haas School of Business. And when his father-in-law found out that I hadn't gotten in, behind the scenes, he did some digging around and realized that the Haas School of Business was only letting in anywhere from like 1 to 3 military people in that class of 240 each year, while Stanford was letting in 10 to 12. And he just felt that that was a grave mistake by the Haas School of Business because he understood the different leadership perspective military people would bring to a class of business people, and 1 or 2 people wasn't satisfactory enough. And so later, once I got accepted and I joined, I went into the business school, I went to thank this person, and I said, how can I return the favor? And he said, it's no problem. I didn't specifically point you out. You brought to my attention something I felt was very wrong, especially since my son-in-law is in the military and going to business school too. And I just made them understand the importance of reevaluating their admission criteria. And we did have quite a few people from the military that year, and all those people made an impact. And he just said, I just want you to continue to give to the Haas School of Business every year, which I have done since then.
How would you say that the skills that you acquired in the military, how did those carry through to business school and what you're doing now?
I think the thing that people who haven't been in the military don't realize is the great opportunity you have for responsibility and leadership. You immediately are thrust and put in a position where you're over anywhere from 10, 20, 30, 40 people, and it grows quickly from there. And so you quickly learn how to deal with people. And the other thing you learn is there's the hierarchy, and then there's the cultural hierarchy, and then there's kind of the getting things done hierarchy. So in the military, you have officers and enlisted, and technically the lowest ranked officer is superior in rank to the highest ranked enlisted petty officer or chief petty officer. But if you treated chief petty officers that way, you were certain never to get anything accomplished in your career because they really were the ones who'd been in the military 20, 25 years and knew how to get things done. You really, really need to pay attention to how you work with people because you need every person on your team to feel valued and that they're contributing to what you're trying, the objective. Otherwise, you can end up having these kind of hijinks go on in different ways. So when I checked into the squadron, then I immediately found my chiefs and said, what do I need to do? Help me be successful. What do you need from me? So that partnership helped me a lot. And the other thing I learned is one thing that's very important to understand is money isn't the only driving force in motivating people. It's very important. You need money to pay the bills, and some people are super money motivated. But what I found in the military was everyone knew what everyone else's pay was because it was just on a chart. And so, but you would see when you're out on a ship on deployment, there would be times when people would work 20 hours, 21 hours a day for weeks on end because they felt it was so important to get what they needed to get done to achieve the objective. And they believed in the leadership and the other people amongst them. And these are people who were making below minimum wage, essentially. When I got into the business world, I felt like I had a good base of understanding that it wasn't necessarily compensation only that could get people rallied around an idea. And I think it's super valuable in startups because essentially you have to find people who are willing to work on a vision and not necessarily get compensated what they could elsewhere.